Evening, folks. It's time again for Buddy Martin Show. It's Orange and Blue Bloods Thursday, but a little black thrown in for obvious reasons. It's Black Saturday, or otherwise known as the day that the black uniforms come out. We'll talk about what do you think about that? We'll have some thoughts. I got a few thoughts. I have a column written down now, and special guest is coming aboard in a moment. Nick Torre, who hadn't been back for a long time, is going to join us. Has many things to talk about, not the least of which is Saturday's game against Arkansas, and probably a little recruiting, what have you. Then we have a special guest tonight, too. In addition to Ben Troupe being around, we're going to hear from Don Rutledge. Don Rutledge was a six-time Final Four referee in basketball who was personal friends with Bobby Knight and has the letter to prove it. And Don will join us as we pay a little tribute to Bobby Knight. Then we got Loren Meadows hanging out, and somewhere in there is Franz. Busy show tonight, folks. Tell your friends and neighbors about to go live right here on YouTube. And by the way, we're not on the other place, Facebook anymore. We pulled it off of there. So the only place you can get this now is YouTube. So let your friends and neighbors know the Buddy Martin Show is on the air.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Riding the week down, ready for Arkansas. As I wrote in my column on Gator, perfect timing for the Razorbacks when it's in the SEC to come to the swamp and have the sold-out swamp is going to be an effect on this. I hate to build this game up too much because, let's be honest, it's two teams that are not very good, at least in terms of the Alabamas and Georgias and the elite. But Sam Pittman has to hang on to his job. He's got a new offensive coordinator. We'll talk to Loren Meadows. He had a piece today about what to expect. Their running game has gotten better in recent weeks with pickups of players. And then, of course, Nick Torre, very good reporter, has a lot of information on baseball as well. And we'll talk to him about that. And what's ahead? I mean, let's be honest, it's what it is. You've got 4 games, 3 of them Florida will be favored to lose in. So they got some work to be done. That's why you don't want to say must wins every week, but they got to beat Arkansas. Vanderbilt's got a better record. So anyway, so that's what we're talking about tonight. Joining us in a moment will be Nick, and then we'll have the pastor Ben will tell us, get us all pumped up for the game, and then we got Don Rutledge, former 6-time referee, Final Four referee. And then Franz, and then Coach Meadows. We got a loaded house tonight, so we better get going quickly. So I'll read this paragraph off my column and get your reaction when we come back. It wasn't designed this way, but the decision to schedule the game against struggling Arkansas in a sold-out swamp the week after the Georgia football team was pummeled by Mike Tyson-like Georgia was both wise and fortuitous, but as for the all-black uniforms, it couldn't hurt. Anything to divert attention away from the Bulldog beatdown. That's it. Let's hear from Mel and all. Come back. We should hear Nick pretty quick. Stay tuned. And let's hear your neighbors, hear your comments and thoughts. Jeffrey Meldon. Jeffrey, you do a show where you ask a lot of questions. I've got one for you right now, okay, regarding how do you know whether your case is being handled right and what to do about it. In medicine, you can get a second opinion if you're not satisfied with the doctor's opinion that they have. And do you have that in law? Can you do that with lawyers?
Yeah, buddy. As a matter of fact, we get quite a few calls from folks that have signed up, particularly with the big box law firms, that they do a hell of a good job of putting ads on TV, but after that, they don't really measure up to the way we try to create a client experience that's outstanding. And we're always willing to review a case and give a second opinion, just like with a doctor, because not all law firms are created equal.
I guess that's the normal thing. Just go to Meldon Law, Google it, and find out, and just give them a call. And like you say, if you come in, you get to see a Meldon. You don't get shuffled off to somebody else. You get to see a Meldon, and that's good to know because a lot of people don't know how to do that stuff, like me. And maybe you can coach us through. So Meldon Law, they won't back down. They will take your questions about your case if you have a question.
Yes, whether it's a new case or an existing case, give us a call. We'd be glad to go over it with you. There's no charge to review your case with you, and a lot of times it makes good sense just to get a second opinion.
Good stuff from Meldon Law. They don't back down, but they will give you a second opinion. All right, thanks very much, Jeffrey. We're starting to get people logging in now a little bit tonight. Good to see you, folks. Tommy Seal was the first one in tonight. Narcissistful. I do not know that one. Hi, buddy. Hello, Narcissistful. Our regular old hangout guy, Perry Mason, not the lawyer, is weighing in, says it's going to be a tough game. Mark Fillion, don't care about the uniforms, just when this could be the last chance this year. Arkansas is not as bad as the record indicates. It's going to be close. Okay. Chris Martin, hello to you. Comment by Dan Bond. Here's the thing about it. Let me just educate you. I wrote this. It isn't necessary that you care about the black uniforms, okay? I mean, there's something about the black uniforms. Everybody does it. I'm not a big proponent of gimmickry. I like the basic orange helmet, blue jersey, white pants. But there is something about it from a standpoint of recruiting and young people. And if you don't believe me, ask Scooby Williams. Scooby Williams said, ask him on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you like wearing the black? He said a 17. So if it does, in fact, get the players a little bit fired up, that's a good thing. Right now, they need everything they can get to go out there and win that game on Saturday. As Mr. Bassman says, get it done. Get it done. So this is really big because you wouldn't want to finish with a losing record, and you wouldn't want to miss the opportunity to go to a bowl game. If they don't beat Arkansas, I hate to think what might happen. Shamar James is gone. I mean, he's not there, and it does matter because he's a heck of a player, and we'll see how they adapt to that. A lot of questions on the defense still. We'll talk more about that tonight. Ben will be along in a moment. We'll talk to him and Nick as well. So I'm going to read a little something here for you. Let's talk about uniforms. Did you ever have a dream uniform when you were a kid growing up? Tell me. Did you have one? Whether you were a Yankee fan or Red Sox fan or Braves Atlanta or Boston fan? I didn't necessarily, maybe the St. Louis Cardinals I would like to have seen, but I remember what it meant to me to get my first uniform of any kind. Little League Baseball. Wow. It was amazing. I remember because I got the uniform and I took it home. The coach said, don't you wear that uniform anywhere except for games. And I was sitting there thinking, I got to put that uniform on. I got to put it on. So I slipped it on at home. I felt good in it. Felt like, man, I'm a ball player now, right? I went out my front yard. It was dusk. Every time a car came by, I ran to the bushes. I was afraid I'd get see my uniform on. But what a thrill. Urban Meyer told me the first time he ever touched an Ohio State jersey, crimson and gray, it's the first time he cried. I mean, it can be an emotional thing. And there's also superstitions, as we know, lots of superstitions about things like that. So everybody has their favorite. What's yours? This will be, I looked this up yesterday, this is the 14th time that they have changed helmet colors and colors since 2006. I didn't know that. I knew it was a bunch. I didn't know. So it does matter, I guess. If players take note of that, what have you. All right, Nick Del Torre will be joining us shortly, then followed by Ben. We'll catch up on the news and what's going on in the world. SEC schedule this week. Let's see here. I want to get to this too. Regarding what's happening and the honoring of the soldiers and the military, it's a wonderful thing. Great. Why? I go back though long enough to remember the day. I'm a child of the '60s. Let's be honest. That when it wouldn't have been possible to have had this game on campus because there would have been players picketing against it. Now it's different. It's a different time we live in right now. Don't get into the politics of it. I'm talking about that back then, there were great players in the 60s. Had this game been played, would be willing to demonstrate against it because of the military. That's how things have changed. And Nick De La Torre is not that old, but I'm sure he read about it back in the day when people, in fact, had Nick been younger, he'd be one of the ones leading the way on demonstrating on something, always. He always does. Right, Nick? Good evening to you, buddy.
Good evening, buddy. Thanks for waiting on me. We were at
Yes,
dinner, me and the wife.
Well, good for you. How's marriage going?
Look, I still got a ring. She hasn't kicked me out of the house yet, so all's well.
Good. That's good. That's a win. That's a win for sure. Congratulations to you. How long you been married now? Not long. 2 months, 3 months, what?
June 30th. I can't forget that date. So what are we, like 5 months now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want to forget that date, okay?
No.
For sure. Now hang tight, Nick. I want to turn this off. This is giving us a little bit of a jitterbug effect. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the Wi-Fi. If I lose you, then you come back and log in because it's making a strange appearance here. So stand by 1 second. See if I can get this right. How you doing otherwise? Where were you, out for dinner or practice or what?
Just out for dinner. She has a work weekend, so we were just went out to dinner with some friends and looked down, and all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, it's 8:45. Gotta get going."
Well, let's get on it right now because we have to leave for limited time. We'll be joined by Ben Troupe a little bit later, and then I know you didn't cover him, but you know about Bobby Knight, what kind of coach he was, and legendary. We're going to have a guy on later tonight who was a referee and a good friend of Bobby Knight's. Now, can you believe Bobby Knight would have a zebra as a friend? He's got the letter on his wall to prove it. And so, yeah, you can't forget the great ones. And by the way, he wasn't that popular with the media. Most people didn't like him because he was rude to most of them. But anyway, he was a great coach. So, R.I.P. to him. What did you remember about Bobby Knight?
The first one is throwing the chair across the court. That is kind of, I don't know if you can coach that way anymore, but that's kind of the way that a lot of us were coached growing up. And it's tough love. He would go at you, just a fierce competitor. And I think that's what I remember most about him is that when I was growing up, he was still coaching, and I think probably towards the end of his time in Indiana, and then he went on and coached other places
Texas
as well.
Tech.
But Texas Tech, that's right. But yeah, I don't think anyone will talk about Bobby Knight without fierce competitor coming out of their mouth.
I asked Don, who was a 6-time Final Four official, who knew him quite well, what he remembered him for. He said he was a great teacher. I've seen him teach. He says he's an amazing teacher. And a lot of people don't know that about him. I didn't realize that myself. Many times it's the public image that we get through social media that really sticks in our head. And if it's a negative one, you always remember the chair because it was an epic moment. But all the good that he did shouldn't be lost to that.
Yeah, there's, obviously in the heat of the moment, he had a temper, but I think, when he has his funeral, I can't imagine how many former players, will be there. And a coach, when you coach that long, the amount of lives that you touch, and it goes way beyond, the basketball court and the whiteboard drawing plays. So he's definitely a Hall of Famer in my book. And, he will be missed.
For sure. So I was thinking about temper the other day, and I think about temper and football coaches. Who comes to mind for you?
Will Muschamp comes up.
Without
That's
question.
one for
He
sure.
definitely is. He was a fiery one. And I didn't know Will. I mean, we met him and interviewed him a few times, but the people who really knew him well really liked him a lot. He was a good dude. But he kind of betrayed his image with that sideline demeanor with people, the public image of him. So he's one of those guys that should have been a good coach at Florida. He had connections. He lived here. He knew the game. He was sought after, and it just never worked. Speaking of which, what we have now, is that going to work?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. We live in such a results, outcome-oriented society. It's hard. I think going into the year, I talked about Florida's going to have growing pains at critical positions. They have a lot of youth, and they're going to have to rely on young players. And even if you're, as a fan, even if you're prepared, okay, well, I think Nick's right, and I think the team will have some growing pains. It doesn't make them feel better while they're happening, buddy. Like the growing pains of losing on the road in the season opener, losing to Kentucky, and getting blown out by Georgia. Like, I don't think the Georgia game was lost on Saturday. The Georgia game, in my opinion, was lost the past 7 years.
I agree.
When Kirby Smart is building this elite roster through recruiting, and Dan Mullen was doing whatever he was doing in recruiting. So it doesn't make it more fun or more palatable while you're losing in the moment. But I still think Florida's on schedule. I think DJ Lagway is a franchise type player. You've got 3 5-stars in this class. I just think that if Billy Napier is going to look at himself in the mirror after the season, I think you're going to have to make some coaching changes. I don't know. We've kind of championed it, having 2 offensive line coaches. I don't know that you need 2 offensive line coaches. Maybe there's a reason that you're the only school in the Power 5 that has that. I think you need somebody else to call plays. I mean, you know Steve Spurrier probably as well as anyone not named Jerry. And he used to say, if you got a job because you were calling plays, don't give that up. But I'd argue when Steve was coach, you recruited maybe 3 months out of the year, and you didn't have to recruit your own roster on top of that.
True.
You didn't have to worry about NIL and
true.
the schedule that coaches have. And I just think there's so much on Billy's plate. And I don't think that he was hired to call plays. I think he was hired because he's detail-oriented, he's a great culture guy, and he was going to recruit his butt off. And I think he's doing those things. So I think you're going to have to look in the mirror, and I think the coaching staff will change up a little bit. But overall, I like the direction of the program.
You mentioned the offensive line, Rob Sale, obviously, Darnell Stapleton, 2 guys coaching. That's one of the problems right now, this team.
Well, you only have 10 people on staff. So if you want to hire an offensive coordinator, a play caller, well, you got to get rid of somebody. And also, you what happened on Saturday was elite line play versus Florida's line play.
Right.
And you can't pause Georgia, but you're going to be compared to Georgia. So you have to get elite players. And there's one more out, Jordan Seaton, who I think Florida will be in the running with. He's in their 5-star kid. But, like, those are the battles you need to win. When they beat Georgia for L.J. McCray, like, if you're going to beat Georgia, you got to start up front at the line of scrimmage. I picked Georgia to win and Georgia to cover because Florida just doesn't have the talent or the depth that Georgia does. No, not many teams do. Not many teams.
Well, you shouldn't really compare yourself to Georgia to stay 8 years in the program, you know. But you have to see progress. You got to see progress.
Yeah. Yes.
And I don't know that I see it this year. I'm not sure. Looks like a better team, better coach, but the result doesn't seem to be getting much better.
Yeah, I called the Tennessee game a must-win. I thought that was, at the time, a chance of a proof of concept. Hey, it's a home game versus a rival. It would be your first win in a rivalry game. And then when I looked at the rest of the schedule, I thought it'd be the only rivalry game they might win this season. So I thought, okay, this is a must-win game. Because if you don't get this one, you might go 2 straight years without losing to a rival. And then all that hot seat talk that we heard from other people. Nobody in Gainesville or Ocala or covering the team like we do, buddy, was saying Billy's on a hot seat this year. But I think if you would have lost to Tennessee and seen the season slide, maybe. But I think that to me was a proof of concept game.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at the team,
like that, yeah.
When I look at the team, the best players, in my opinion, are either freshmen, sophomores, redshirt freshmen, or guys from the transfer portal, i.e. guys that have been brought in by this staff. So it's hard to say patience because you look Mel Tucker, who's now fired.
How'd
that
work out, by the way? Yeah.
A lot of these teams that use the transfer portal and have great success, it's not extended. Now, listen, LSU, if they go out and beat Alabama, they use the portal really well, better than Florida did.
They did.
And if they beat Alabama on Saturday, they could be in Atlanta. And certainly the school out west has used the portal a ton. So there is a way. I just don't think that's how Billy wants to build. And you go and you kind of cherry pick and get pieces that you need at positions of need, but he doesn't want that to be his recruiting strategy. It should be supplemental to elite high school recruiting, which I think their class this year is that.
Speaking of which, offensive line, I don't mean to focus on, but Davian George has not seemed to work out. He really is a guard, not a tackle. You've got the situation with Makut, I can never say his name, Mazkuza, who we thought was going to be
Mazuka.
We thought was going to be a real big hot addition. Hasn't shown up, Nick.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe Nick Saban doesn't let really good football players leave.
That's what you wonder about. Exactly right. I wonder about that.
But it's interesting. I'm writing a story for tomorrow about how the offensive line kind of got to this point, and you had a guy who I thought was going to start in Keontae Goodwin, and Mom has a health situation. He leaves to go be closer to her. So you're out. Not only are you out of tackle, but a guy who I thought would start. Micah Mazuka has been okay, but maybe like the Big 12 is a different line of scrimmage game than the SEC. I think Jake Slaughter, I had no idea what to expect from Jake Slaughter. I know everyone down there in Ocala loves him.
But he can't walk. He can't walk out of turn and block on the SEC or make calls like that. That's unfair, really, almost, isn't it? I mean, that's a lot.
I think he's playing as well as Kingsley would play.
Really? Okay. Really?
And then I don't know that Austin Barber has looked very good at left tackle.
Yeah, really. That's
we all thought he played really well. So I felt strong. I felt Florida's offensive line, if healthy, would be good. They have not been healthy, and I'd be interested to see if George still continues struggling at right tackle. How much and how healthy is Cameron Waits?
Yeah. I liked a little bit of what I saw of Cameron Waits. I don't know if he can go 60 or not. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. I 10 months after Achilles surgery, I'd still be in bed.
Exactly. All right, Nick, get us out of here with where they go from here. We know they got 4 games, and 3 of them they're going to be underdogs in. They got to get bowl eligible if they're going to get it. They got to get it Saturday. Sold out swamp, black unis, good setting. What do you see happening over these next 4 games?
Yeah, I think this is obviously the one you have to get. I do caution people, like, this is not a 2-6 team. Like, this isn't Vanderbilt coming into the swamp on Saturday. They held LSU to their second most points of the season, 34 points. They lost to Alabama by 3. It's a 2-6 team that has lost 5 games by 1 possession. Also, it's going to be tough for a defense. You look for, if you're a defensive coordinator, you're looking for tendencies and patterns, and you're going up against an offensive coordinator who's never called plays. What Kenny Guyton will be like as a play caller, and it's week 10. You can't go in and change the playbook. You can't change who you are, but you just won't know what he's going to do on a 3rd and 3 or a 4th down. So it's going to be a big for Austin Armstrong, Jay Bateman, and the defensive coaching staff to make in-game adjustments on Saturday, kind of coaching on the fly. And then after that, like, I look at the rest of the schedule. It's I can't see CBS picking up that Florida LSU game for 3:30, which means it's a night game. in Death Valley against
good.
the Heisman Trophy candidate and Jaden Daniels, who's playing quarterback as good as anybody in the country right now. Missouri could very likely be a noon game, 11 a.m. local.
Just nothing good there.
November 18th. It's going to be in the 40s, probably 30s, early morning start. You've got to bring your own juice to that one.
Really good FSU team coming to town, so yeah.
An FSU team that should still be undefeated, an FSU team that is looking to get into the playoff and highly motivated. And at that point, if you're Florida and you're on a 2-game losing streak, what are you bringing to that FSU game? Now it's a rivalry game, and I won't question, the guys getting up for that. But if you're a 6-5 Florida, you could erase every mistake by knocking off Florida State.
Opportunity
on my birthday, buddy.
There you go. We got to have it for Nicholas. That's what we did. All right, Nicholas. Let me let you go before you start depressing me, will you?
Sorry about that.
Good stuff. Good to have you back on the show again, by the way.
Great to be back.
Right, some good stuff, and all the best to you and your wife. What's your name?
Loren.
Loren?
Loren, yes.
Okay, Loren. All the best to Loren. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, Nick Del Torre. We're busy. We got a bunch of people waiting in the green room, including this guy. Let's see if we can find him. He's somewhere bundled up because he's cold. I know he must have one of those A hats on, although I don't know why, because it didn't go as good as he likes it for this spring anyway. There he is. What's up, brother?
It did go as good as I want because the Phillies didn't win the World Series.
Oh, okay.
And Ronald Acuna Jr. just got voted by his peers National League Player of the Year. So it did go well.
Brother, you're reaching now, brother.
Bryce Harper has not won a World Series last time I checked.
Let me say this. My team and your team are home. Okay?
You're right.
Okay, I'm just saying.
For 2024, me and Buddy going to be right back at it again. The Braves. And listen,
we are.
I will only talk trash. If Buddy comes on here with a Tampa Bay Ray hat, I'm talking trash.
All right, that's fair enough. We're going to have a special treat in just a minute. One of my old college roommates was 6 times refereed a Final Four. 6 times. Wow. And he really knew well Bobby Knight. Now, Bobby Knight never met a zebra he liked, as they say, but Don Rutledge knew him and liked him and has some good things to say about him. So we'll hear firsthand. I mean, let's be honest, there's a generation between him and other people around here. We're going to teach them something about Bobby Knight. Although, I must say, and Don knows this, he wasn't the favorite of the media, that's for sure. But he was a legendary coach and won 3 national championships, and RIP to him. All right, so now talk to me about black uniforms and about Saturday.
I will say this about the black uniforms, buddy. I give Billy Napier a lot of credit because we've heard of the black uniform myth has been going on. I don't think Spurrier had anything to do with it. But I don't know. Maybe it was a late Urban Meyer, early, late runs. I don't know who started it, but it's rumors. And I think what pushes things now more than ever, buddy, is social media. You say something, somebody makes one, and then it gets going. But Billy Napier says at the beginning of the season, we're wearing black uniforms. It's going to be military appreciation, and buddy, let's call it what it is. We've survived them green Gator scales.
Man, they were horrible. They were awful.
So if we could do, and that was strictly for recruits, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that am I disappointed it's not a night game? Yes. They finally want to give us a high noon game. When Florida first started the season, we were contractually obligated to play at night, whether that's in Utah, at home, but I do like it. I like the meaning behind it. I like the fact that Billy Napier is like this. I'm getting tired of talking about it, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Donate the jersey. The money that's made goes to military families across the country, which is a great cause. But I'm looking forward to it, buddy. I think the thing about this Florida season, this is just chapter number 9, right? It's the 9th game of the year. Arkansas isn't playing the way we thought they would with KJ Jefferson and company, but they're going to come in here high noon. Hopefully we can use that to our advantage. But is it going to be weird? Because we know it's Florida. Could you imagine, Buddy? Buddy Martin's doing something. But it's, hold on, let me just check the game real fast. You're going to think you're looking at the wrong team. You're going, what? Whoa.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking for Florida. They said, no, that's them.
Yeah.
Think about this, buddy. The hat you got on, if you just took the bait off it and you just had an S, that's how the uniform's going to look. So Buddy Martin has been preparing for this game.
Gators right there. Very good. All black Saturday.
Something to look forward to for this Saturday. I get it. Let me say this too. Shamar James, man, I'm praying for you, sir. I know it's rough on you right now, dealing with that dislocated kneecap. Wow, that's rough. But I got to say this. After the Georgia game, and I'm going to put it to rest, Cam Jackson and Ricky Pearsall, these guys were online apologizing to the fans. Let me tell these players, you don't got to apologize to nobody, man. Nobody wants to win more than y'all. And I think that's the part of social media, buddy, that I think is dangerous because I don't get backlash. Like when people talk trash to me, I'm a grown man. I don't care. But I'm not currently at Florida, and my, feelings and emotions are on display every Saturday. But when I see guys, trying to apologize because I said this. I said, don't make explanations to people in a loss that you wouldn't even conversate with in a win. Just go about your day, man. It's fine. It happens. But I can say I love the fact, buddy, that you know what's happening? You go from coming to Florida, wanting to win, building a culture, to wanting to win for your coach. I think that's what's happening now. They want to win for them.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's going to happen. But
the will's important. The will's really important.
Of course. But I am looking forward to Saturday. I'm looking forward to the black uniform. It's gonna be weird, buddy.
Yeah.
It is. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. But now, that's something else we can talk trash to them boys over there on the Panhandle. Boys. They did have black jerseys, right?
Yeah.
They did have black. Yeah. So now we can put it to rest. But those recruits that's coming in 2024. I appreciate y'all saying things like, hey, man, regardless of what happened in Athens, regardless of what happened the rest of the year, I know what they're trying to, quote, build in Gainesville, and I want to be a part of it. So that is good to hear, even though them young boys still got to sign on the dotted line in 2024.
All right, we're going to bring this guy on board right now. He's a friend of mine. Don Rutledge, I know you just passed your bedtime. Say hello to Ben Troupe.
Hi, Ben.
How you doing, sir?
I had to get him on tonight because he knew Bobby Knight well, personally. And Bobby Knight didn't love all officials. I can tell you that. We all know that. Don had his respect. I've got that copy of that letter he wrote you, Don. I wish I had it in front of me, talking about how much respect he had for you. And you told me something today about Bob Knight. I didn't realize Bobby, as most of us call him. He was a great teacher. Can you elaborate on that, Don?
Well, first of all, I think he was probably as good a coach as ever walked on the floor. But the reason for that, he understood how to teach his players. Do you know, I don't think there was only one Indiana player when he was there was ever an all-pro.
Isaiah Thomas.
Mm-hmm. So he didn't have the greatest talent in the world to work with. And he taught him how to win. And he was one of the winningest coaches in the history of the game. The only guy that is ahead of him on wins is one of his former students that he taught, Mike Krzyzewski. Mm-hmm. Bobby Knight didn't always say it in the right way. He didn't always do it in the right way according to today's rules. But he was very efficient. And Bobby was always respectful to those who did a good job, worked hard, and when you gain credibility with him, he very seldom questioned you.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to ask you in the limited time. I was afraid we'd run into this. So I want you to share us your favorite Bob Knight story. And Franz Beard's on here too. We'll get him up and let him join us. Tell us about Bob Knight and one story that is your favorite story. About all the times you officiated him, I know he thought the world of you, But you had your little battles with Bob.
Yeah, I did, and but he always paid attention. He wasn't too poor to pay attention, I'll tell you that. Bobby and I go up to Louisville. Denny Crum's coaching Louisville, and they got a really good team. And I think it was in '87 when Louisville had Purvis, nervous Purvis, or the year before he had nervous Purvis, and we're playing the game, and then right before the first media timeout, Packer and whoever that guy is does those games. Were right before the timeout. I called a foul on the Indianas, and I put them on the line. And I'm at the slot official, and I administer the thing, and kid shoots the ball from Indiana, and the second lane space, the big center, pushes a Louisville guy underneath the basket, gets the rebound, missed, and stuck it back in, and I waved it off. And, of course, there was a timeout. Now, you know where I got to go stand at the free throw line opposite Bobby Knight. So I walk up there, and he doesn't say anything. He's in there coaching his team, and right before the timeout ends, he turns around and he said, "Are you going to call that blank all night long?" And I said, "Only when you get the ball and stick it back in the hole." And he said another expletive, and I just said, winked at him and went on. Well, I don't know who won that game, but I think Louisville did. The next year, guess what game I got? I got Louisville at Indiana. Ted Hillary is one of the referees, and Jody Sylvester, a veteran official. Ted's first-year crew chief, first-time crew chief on this game, and it's a big game. So I'm going to, make sure that I do the best job I can. Well, in about the first 4 minutes of the game, when you kick a call as an official, you just hope you can get away with it because you can't change it. So I kick a block charge. I call Indiana for a block on Purvis, who was illegal. And I knew I'd missed it, so I ran right over to the bench in front of Knight and reported it right in front of him. He did not say a word. And I was amazed. And we go up and down the floor 3 times, and I'm standing there in the backcourt, and Knight is right on my shoulder, and a ball is passed from the backcourt to the front court. An Indiana kid tips the ball and goes out of bounds, and Ted Hillary at the other end of the floor, 40 feet away from me and Knight, gives it back to Louisville, which he should have. And Knight started in a temper, and I grabbed him by the seat of the coat. I pulled him back. I said, "Sit down and be quiet, because if you're not getting on my ass down here when I kick a block charge, don't get on the rookie's ass when he gets one right." You know what he said? He gave me a nice cuss word. He said, "Okay," and sat his ass down. And that was it. But that's the kind of guy. But see, I was used to dealing with that. And, I pride myself. I taught 32 years in the Florida school system, and I pride myself as a school teacher and know how to get to people and know how to address people. And sometimes you use some tactics that you don't want made public sometimes to get a point across. But Knight was always in the public eye, and when he made some statements that were horrendous, but he was sorry he made them. But he did it for what he thought was the right cause. And he was a win at all cost guy. And one night he asked me long after he retired, he asked me, he said, "What would you have done with me when I threw that chair across the floor? I'd get it, brought it back to you, hand it to you, and said, take it with you. You're going to need to find a place to sit in the locker room."
That's a great story.
But he was a terrific guy and a terrific teacher to me. And, we had, his language wasn't all the best, but, when it's just between you and him and it's not personal, it's about the game and it's about his attitude. But he could teach players and get those players to do exactly what he wanted, when he wanted them to do it. And I'm telling you, I've never met a man that was so blatantly honest.
To a fault. And Franz, we need more officials like Don today.
Absolutely.
Say hello to Don, and of course we know
Hey,
Franz doesn't like the zebras very much, but he has certain ones.
I like good ones. I just don't like ones that are incompetent.
It's kind of like writers.
Exactly.
Now he's getting personal. It's getting personal now.
The good one.
We're entitled to like the good ones. We're entitled to not like the bad ones. I was very fortunate that while I didn't get to know Bob Knight personally, I do know this, by the way, and this is a little known fact. He came like this close to being the successor to Norm Sloan here at the University of Florida. It was like, that close, razor thin. It's almost like, Florida people don't realize that Ray Graves was Florida's second choice. The first choice was Ara Parsegian, and Ara stayed at Northwestern because they made a bunch of promises that they didn't keep. Army made a bunch of promises to Bob Knight that they didn't keep, and when they didn't keep him, he went to Indiana. But he was all set to sign here at Florida. I
got to get Don to bed. He's 45 minutes past his bedline. He hadn't had his milk and cookies yet, so he's got to go. He agreed to stay up late to share a couple of the stories. Donnie boy, thank you so much. Great stuff, and all the best to you and your bride. And we'll talk again soon. All right, brother?
All right. You do me a favor. You tell Dawn I said hello.
I'll do it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right. See you guys.
The great Don Rutledge. He's the best, man. I'll tell you what. Many times, Ben, he and I and two guys lived together in the attic of the Fidel house because we couldn't afford it anymore. $5 a rent is all we could afford, and he was one of them. And we had some great care. Anyway, Don's one of the
tremendous official, and let me say, I'm hard on basketball officials because I think that there's too many of them out there that miss calls and then complicate matters by trying to do a makeup call. And as he was saying just then, he never made makeup calls, which is why Bob Knight respected him. And Don Rutledge, the thing I loved about him when he called games, he took command of the game. This is why I like, for example, television Ted Valentine. He takes command of the game. You never have to doubt who's in charge. Ted Valentine has it, and if he blows the call, he'll admit it, and you'll see him so often in timeouts, and you'll see him, he's got an official with him, he's got the basketball in front of his face, and usually, as he's told me, he's telling that young official, you blew the call, and don't you dare think you can do a makeup call on me, because he says, and I like officials like that, and that was what Don's, I think, greatest strength was that he called the game fairly. He called it right. And if you're going to call it in the first 5 minutes, call it in the last 5 minutes. If you're going to call it one way at one end, call it the same way at the other end. But don't be wishy-washy. And I've sat with Don. He sat behind me a bunch of years at Florida games, because he was evaluating officials for the SEC. And we've had a lot of conversations about what he thought was a good official and what he thought was a bad one. But I got to say this, none of the ones I've seen were as good as he was.
All right, good comments. Now let's get back to Ben. He's been sitting listening to this basketball stuff for the last 20 minutes.
No. I mean, when you introduced Don, like the thing about it is, like, obviously when you talk about guys who, you hear about, them AAU tournaments and different ones. Don Rutledge was a guy because obviously AAU ain't what it is now compared to back then, but what it is, they said that whenever you did a game, you know how you do the pleasantries before the game, you got Bob Knight. They say Bob is letting you know, look, man, I saw that nonsense you did. They said Bob used to study refs like he studied, other teams, but obviously I never got a chance to, see Bob Knight coach in person, but the greatest press conference I think I've ever seen him do was when he had his grandbaby right next to him. Because he was like, you make more sense. Like, Bob Knight, the way he held court with post-game press conferences is what Steve Spurrier did. Like, certain guys realized, Spurrier was like a Bob Knight without the language, though.
He was that. He was. It's a good description of him right there, yeah.
Like Bob Knight is he says, look, man, I pull no punches. You know what you get when you getting me. Right? But when he said the whole thing, right, something about like when he died, something he want to be buried upside down. So So like I said, man, I think I will say this. People try to judge people off their worst moments. And that's what people are trying to equate Bob Knight to his worst
very
moment.
true. That's very true.
I've learned as I got older not to do that because, like somebody said, the only reason why people don't judge me by my worst moments is because they ain't never seen them. So you can't judge me. With Bob Knight, he goes, say what you want. He said, listen, call me what you want to call me, but you can't call me a loser. I'm one of the greatest to ever coach. And the thing is, the reason why we hate Duke is because that guy he coached. I hate Duke. Can't stand him. But Bob Knight will be missed, man. I think he's one of those guys that I'm looking forward to his 30 for 30. It's going to have to be a mini-series. So whoever play him going to have to be able to say, hey, man, how many F-bombs can we drop? In the first episode, about 25.
Do you know what I like best about Bob Knight? And this may surprise some people because you know how much I love basketball. I was in on an interview with Quinn Buckner a few years ago. And Quinn Buckner, as you know, was the point guard on the last undefeated NCAA team, and that was Indiana in 1976. And imagine this, they won the national championship without a single guy who ever made All-Pro in the NBA. In fact, most of the guys were kind of journeyman players. But here's what Quinn Buckner said in that interview, and I'm going to paraphrase a little bit here because I don't remember the exact words. He said, yeah, he yelled at you and he got in your face, but it was because he knew you could do better. And he knew that you could do your best. And that's what he wanted, because he knew that life, once you got through with basketball, you were going to be out in the real world. And your success was going to be determined by your ability to do your best. And Quinn Buckner said, hey, he made a man out of me. And I've heard that from every guy that ever played for him and stuck it out 4 years. They said, yeah, he yelled, yeah, he screamed, cussed at us, did all this other stuff. But he always wanted the best for us. And he always wanted us to graduate and be better than we'd ever been, better than we could have been without him.
Yeah.
What a tribute.
There's a guy that was around the part of the country where he coached, probably a little too young back in those days, but I know even up in Dayton, they knew who Bobby Knight was, Loren, and you know what he was to basketball and college sports.
Yeah, I mean, I could remember Bobby Knight won me my middle school basketball pool, 1987. I picked the Indiana Hoosiers to win the national championship, and Keith Smart hit that baseline jumper in New Orleans. And I've been a student of Bobby Knight for a really long time. My father was a big Bobby Knight fan, and so Season on the Brink and Playing for Knight by Steve Alford, and then Bobby Knight's autobiographies is three of my favorite books. So growing up in the Midwest, and some of my Bobby Knight gave one of my good friends, Jamie Skelton, one of the best compliments that he could give a guy. Jamie Skelton was kind of the Indiana killer in the early 90s. He always had big games against Indiana. And Bobby Knight said if Jamie Skelton played Indiana every night, he'd be an All-American. So, Bob Knight was an institution, obviously the pride of Orrville, Ohio. Smucker's Jelly and Bobby Knight come from Orrville, Ohio. So, yeah. I mean, the sports world and coaching as a whole, any of us that have been in coaching, I know that I yelled and screamed a little bit. So we all got a piece of Bob Knight in us. And, just the ability to teach, the purity of basketball that Bob Knight brought, it's just something that you just don't see anymore. And the freedom of movement, no plays, even at the last, at the
Okay, Loren, your Wi-Fi is going in and out a little bit there, Loren. Good stuff. Let me just say this real quick. Sorry, not your fault. We're going to take it around the horn here, so to speak, and we're going to talk about, after I do this spot read, this whole issue Saturday, the black uniforms. Do they help and why? Do you think it might help recruiting? And do you think this is a fortuitous scheduling for Florida to have a team like Arkansas win us in the SEC, coming to town when Florida needs something good to happen. Tackle those questions after this timeout. Titan MRI is worth a short drive to Gainesville. No insurance is no problem. You can pay with cash or card with same-day scheduling available. Start feeling better today because Titan MRI is North Central Florida's premier independent MRI facility. Come see what hundreds of patients are visiting our Gainesville location from Ocala, Marion County, and the villages. That's TitanMRI.com. Franz, you're first. Black uniforms, the swamp alive, sold-out crowd. Chance for Florida to get corrected. They got to win this one because if they don't, I don't see another win maybe the rest of the season.
Well, if you remember, guys, when we were talking back in August, we were looking at this as a toss-up game that the Gators might have a chance to lose because Arkansas was thought to be really, really good this year, and it's turned out they've laid an egg. And scuttlebutt around Arkansas is that if Mike Pittman comes in here and loses Saturday, which will guarantee a losing season for them. I can't see them winning 4 in a row, but there's always hope of that. But he loses this one, he's guaranteed 7 losses, and probably a 2-10 season is forthcoming. But he may get fired Saturday after this ball game. There's every real possibility that will happen. So it's an important game for Florida because you can't lose a game to a team whose coach is on the brink right now, who's got one foot out the door. You can't do that. And this is as important a game as there is for Florida. And of course, I got to hand it to Eli Drinkwitz, who they talked about. He's the Missouri coach, but he had something important to say this week, and I think it applies to the Gators. He said, the next game is always the most important game. He says, I don't look back on the games we've won. I don't look at this as a more important game because it's Georgia. It's the next opponent we play. That's why they're most important. And for Florida, this has to be the most important game of the year. It is the next game on the schedule. It guarantees 6 wins. I don't know that black uniforms are going to, other than the fact the kids are happy to wear them and excited to wear them. I remember, I guess it was 2005 or was it 2006? They broke out the retro uniforms from the Spurrier era with the, with the F on the helmet and the UCLA stripes here, blue jerseys, white pants, and just gorgeous uniforms. And the kids got excited for that ball game. But I think the excitement after one ball game, you say, okay, we're going to wear the black uniforms. Oh, okay. I mean, you got to put on a suit. Everybody wears pants. Everybody wears a shirt.
But Franz, let me say one thing. When you read the quotes from some of the players, they are pretty excited about it.
But my point is this: is if you wear the black uniforms again, I mean, is it going to do this? Other than the fact maybe if they win, somebody gets superstitious about it. But Ben, you played in different uniforms. You were in the NFL, and yeah, you got excited when you wore one, but when you wore it the next time, it wasn't exactly, one of these things that you're doing backflips over, was it?
I mean, when you were a freshman, it is. I mean, I was a little mad that I never got a chance to wear those throwback Oilers jerseys that the Titans had on last Sunday. But I think the thing is too, when it comes to black jerseys, because you're not gonna probably ever see them again, you get to be able to say, "Oh, you were the guys that got to wear them." But Felipe Franks got to wear them hideous little, alligator scale looking jerseys, and I think he touched on them.
Those were hideous.
I think he got the longest run for a quarterback from scrimmage, like 70-something yards. But I will say this about the black uniforms. It's one of those things that it was more of a myth before this Saturday. Like, oh, who's going to do it? Who's going to do it? Who's going to do it? And Billy Napier said, let's do it. I mean, is it going to be weird turning on the tube when you seeing all black, all black, but – I like it for this reason. Recruiting never stops, man. It really don't. And if that's going to make kids think, because you know the new thing is going to be, oh, is my son going to wear that when they come? They're going to get maybe. It's probably a definite no, but maybe we might, we might. But I am looking forward to seeing it happen. You know, that team over there on the Panhandle, that team out there in South Florida, they got black unis. Was I a little jealous of the one down there in South Florida? Yeah, I can't stand the boy talent. I don't care what they wear. I can't stand them. But I can't. But I just think for me, Billy Napier does this. He says, if I gotta always appeal to the product is the players. If y'all want to wear black, it's a game. It's one game. Let's wear them and make it military appreciation. So I can rock with any coach. Steve Spurrier would have been like, listen, I don't care what y'all want. We ain't wearing all black. I will say this, the only uniform I'm jealous I didn't get a chance to wear when I was in Florida was all orange. I wanted to wear all orange. I did. We'll wear the orange pants and the white top. But Zook or Spurrier was like, listen, tradition. It's either going to be white with the blue, all white, all blue, or white with the orange. I mean, the Zooks of the world, the Spurriers of the world, they wasn't doing that stuff.
Spurrier also said, we ain't Clemson. That's
we ain't Clemson, but we just got our sun kiss on for one game, man. Let's do it.
I remember somebody asked Spurrier about wearing all orange and his comment was, we ain't Clemson. And that's from his and that's just a throwback from his ACC days. He beat Clemson to win the ACC championship in 1989. But I guarantee you that Spurrier, that was funny. I remember that comment. That was great.
Loren, you played and coached, and how much impact does jersey color make for players in certain situations?
I mean, it's something to get excited about. I mean, the guys will really like to wear. I mean, they'll be excited about them and showing them and taking the pictures, in today's Instagram world and Twitter and that kind of thing. It'd be nice to show them off and that kind of thing. And I think the recruits will get excited about it, no doubt.
We lost you again, Loren. We lost you. No, you're in and out. But all right, so let me
I was saying. Go ahead.
I'm not hearing you. All right, so let's get this. Sorry about that, Loren. All right, let's go real quickly around the horn. Finally, W for Florida, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I don't think that the record is going to be indicative of how Arkansas is going to play on Saturday, but I do think Florida, it's a different team at home. I think they find a way to get back to their winning way. It's not going to be, because we Florida, we don't make nothing easy. It's not going to come easy. I think KJ Jefferson is a very, very talented quarterback. I just think I just think the season just didn't go the way they wanted to, but we are a different team at home. I like our chances. Give me a like a 31-21 win. It's not going to be, like I said, it's going to be get a couple of scores late, but I do see us getting a dub on Saturday.
Loren, I know you picked Florida. I saw your piece. If we still got you, go ahead and give us your assessment, Loren.
It's going to be tough. I mean, Arkansas is the probably best 2-16 in the country. They got 5 losses by 10 or less points, and they got some dudes. And the thing that kind of concerns me is the best part of their team is their edge rushers, at least on defense. And what did Florida struggle with the last few weeks is pretty edge rushers. So I think Florida wins, but like Ben said, it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be tough.
Franz, they do have Rocket Sanders back and a couple other guys. How much better will they be with a new play caller?
Rocket Sanders hasn't played a football game in 6 weeks. And as of last week or the week before last, he could barely limp his way through a practice. So, maybe Benny Hinn visited and he's been faith healed. Who knows? But I don't think it's going to matter. I think that I hate to say it, but I think this team has given up on the coach. I really do believe it. I look at They've had 730 yards of total offense in their last 3 ball games. Total. And that's not against, and it hasn't been like they've played the greatest defenses in the world either, but they haven't moved the ball. It reminds me of some teams we've seen in the past where you got some guys who are pro prospects who kind of say, okay, we're not going to win the championship, so I'm just going to mail it in the rest of the year and keep myself from getting hurt before the combine.
Yeah.
And
all right.
I think Florida wins. I think Florida wins this one 31-10.
Okay, we have a guy just weighed in. Let's see what he thinks about the black unis and what the Florida pulls out of victory. It's the producer of the show, joins the program now. Hello, Brendan.
Hello. You guys hear me all right? Is everybody there? Is this thing on?
Yeah, we got
black. I don't know. What do you think about black jerseys? I think it would be a lot better to wear black jerseys if you beat Georgia. That's what I would think. But I mean, look, black jerseys at noon in the swamp. I don't know. I think it'd be better at night. I was excited about it earlier. I thought it'd be cool, but it's hard. I think anybody else would be more excited about a W. So I think I don't know what you guys have been talking about. I don't think, I think Arkansas is better than their record, and I don't think it's just going to be a walk through. So
winner, Brendan.
I think Florida wins because they win at home. They're a better team. That's what I think.
Okay.
But I tell you what, I don't like noon games. Florida doesn't like noon games, and I just think it's going to be a little tougher than I think their record shows. What, 2-6? I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a battle.
It's 11 a.m. for them, by the way. All right, final thoughts, guys. I'm going to weigh in on this. I have not been a big proponent of black jerseys. I like the bases. I'm like you said, Ben, about Spurrier. I kind of like the
better than the green ones.
They were awful. We talked about that. But I will say this at this moment in this time, that anything they can do to get a rallying cry going for a sold-out swamp, and you saw Scooby Williams comment on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you like the black jerseys? A 17. Now, you may say, well, that's no big deal, but it is a big deal to a player when you get them jacked up at a time when they need every bit of mojo they can get right now. They have got to find a way to win this game. So I'm saying, okay, if the black jerseys help, go for it. Obviously, a lot more has to happen. So we look back on this game, it may be one of the most critical games in Billy's ever coached. And we've been saying that for a while. All right, guys, thanks for joining, Brendan. We're going to get out of here unless somebody's got something they want to add. Anybody? Ben?
Basketball scrimmage tonight.
They picking the Braves to win the 2020.
Ben, it's time for you to go to bed. It's time for you to go.
No. You said somebody got something to add.
No. This ain't no baseball show. This ain't no baseball show.
Bryce Harper didn't win a World
Your
Series.
team is where my team is. Home. You're home, okay? You can't talk when you're home.
Florida had a basketball scrimmage tonight. And I like what I see. It's a better team than last year. How much better we won't know till they.
Riley Kugel, preseason All SEC, my man Riley.
Yeah. The young kids, the 2 young big guys are better than I thought they were going to be. And that's Condon and Hauk. They're both better than I thought they were going to be. And the kid from Lithuania, the little point guard from Lithuania. He is going to be a stud at some point in time in his career. But, hey, Zion Pullen at the point guard, the guy, he won the 3-point shooting contest tonight. He's got serious skills. Walter Clayton, too. I think Will Richards is going to come off the bench, guys. I really do think he's going to end up
better place for him. Probably a better place for him. But by the way,
they're going to be good. They're going to be good.
Women's basketball, according to what Loren tells me, is going to be better, too, Loren says, right?
Yes, sir. Way better. Get Zippy Broughton back from injury. Probably a better shooter at point guard with Aaliyah Matheru. And Remember this name, Layla Reynolds is a freshman, McDonald's All-American, and she can pretty much get any shot she wants. About 6'3", can handle it. She's going to be a good one. So, and I like the green Gator skin jersey, by the way.
I know you do.
Get out of here with that. No.
I know you do.
No. Cut his mic. Cut his mic.
It's probably the only. It's the only thing we disagree on, Loren, is the fact that you like those hideous puke green jerseys. They're awful. They are awful. You know what? I do have something to say about the black jerseys. This is to the fan base. Stop wearing the black jerseys to every game. They are not like the current scheme. I see everybody. Oh, I got the black jersey. What are you wearing the black jersey for? I was like, wear it to one game.
Wear the black. Listen. Wear the black jersey and make sure you take a picture with Brendan. Make sure you find Brendan and take a picture with him.
Yeah, that's right. You can be find Waldo. I'll be on the sideline. Come find him. That's right.
No.
That's all right. Hey, you can have your black jersey. Just don't wear it to every damn game. Why? I see people got black jerseys on. That was at the orange and blue game. I think. What was it? It was like, what do you got to wear? Stop with the orange and blue. One time. It's a one-time thing. You're ruining the whole deal with the jersey like early.
I gotta go. I gotta go.
Way too fast, dude.
All right. I gotta go. Past my bedtime.
Hey, by the way, I told you guys about Georgia. I told you about Georgia. You didn't want to listen to me about Georgia.
We're down to the draw. Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody. Don't forget to read Gator. All right. Thanks for listening, for watching. Talk to you later. Tomorrow.
Bye, everybody.
Tomorrow we have our friend Urban Meyer on from Dallas, and we'll get his thoughts.
The new head coach at Michigan State yet?
Yeah, sure, right. That's going to happen, right?
$100 million deal.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see about that.
Yeah. All right.
We'll discuss it tomorrow. Do we know what time we're?
9:00 Eastern. If we go live, with 9:00 Eastern.
All right. Well, that people got to know that, and smash the subscribe button. I know you told them. Everybody, smash the subscribe button. 58% of you don't do that. Go to GatorbaitMedia.com. Come on.
And click on WinStar Medical Research. Check them out. High quality, patient-centered clinical research facility right here in Ocala. Have cutting-edge clinical research trials for Alzheimer's, dementia, psoriasis, osteoarthritis, migraines, fibromyalgia, and many other things we have in our community. They're always checking it. Since their inception in 1998, they've had more than 700 clinical trials. They need to partner with prominent pharmaceutical and biomedical companies throughout the medical industry. If you want to be a part of these, you can be. Just go to redstar.net and find out how you can qualify. In some cases, compensation is paid for time and travel. Rendstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health
questions of today.
All right, Brenda, glad you joined us. See you in the morning for Urban Meyer.
Bye, everybody.